Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. And we have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be Xena, the random master of chaos bot, going to be taking on NegativeZero, the best bot by far. I think it's safe to say, as it's got a phenomenal win rate on the ladder. Its army control is second to none. And yeah, we'll just see how it's going to do against the cheesy bot Xena. It's interesting casting NegativeZero's games because it has such a good win rate pretty much against any bot. I can, aside I guess from Eris, in which it's like, okay, NegativeZero is probably the favorite and it's a little bit closer, but like pretty much versus any other bot, it's like, okay, NegativeZero will probably win. It's just that darn good. And yeah, we'll see if Xena can come out with anything special. We do have Xena saying bio attack supply 60. Looks like it does have dynamic supply amounts for this build, which is something that I'm a very, very big fan of. We can see in the win rates there that it seems to do 30 and 60 supply. Yes, which is something I think all bot authors should experiment with or add, in that as far as recording game data goes against opponent bots, that you can really add in some variation as far as the timings on your builds go. And then if you use kind of just, well, statistics to pick your builds, then you will end up with a better win rate if you do happen to just sort of throw things at the wall and see what sticks, and then just go with that in the future. And so yeah, let's see how Xena does, as it is going to be building up to 60 army supply based off what we saw at the start of the game. NegativeZero, meanwhile, is going for a couple of gateways, going for a just a couple of gateways, chrono boosting out a stalker and staying on one base. No chat from the Protoss bot, however, it did go for a scout. It saw that the Terran was expanding and that there's nothing crazy to worry about. But this is just one of the things about NegativeZero that is so darn impressive. It builds such a strong early army and doesn't expand for such a long time in most of its games, that it does just so well. Like, despite kind of breaking that rule almost, that in, at least in PvT and in PvZ even, unless your opponent, like, unless you're basically cheesing or something, you usually have to go like gateway expand with. That's very much not the case in these bot games. You can delay the expansion. And yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, click that like button on this video. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. Subscribe to the channel. And then, yeah, just join my Discord that's linked down below. You can join the AI Arena Discord too. I'm sure there's going to be updates on pro bots pretty soon, which is a very cool bot tournament that's going to be starting. I'll be definitely paying attention to that one. Now, as far as the build goes, Xena is getting that bio underway. It's already got 2 racks with completed reactors, a tech lab finishing up, probably for stim or combat shield, with, well, a 4th rack is done and a factory on the way. So the crazy bio production is beginning. Xena is getting away with this in the sense that it's got a much superior economy compared to its opponent. And this looks pretty good for the random playing Terran bot, because this is the kind of thing that you can capitalize on in bot games. Bots are very linear, and that we know NegativeZero doesn't expand we know NegativeZero doesn't expand until later than a lot of bots does, or at least most of the time anyway. And now, which is at least understandable when it plays Xena, because Xena will tend to cheese and that kind of thing. So usually it's a very good idea not to expand against Xena. So it is an interesting problem as the bot author. These insights are kind of being made with the context of all the bot games I've cast in the past. But for example, if Xena had gone for that 30 bio supply attack, it probably wouldn't have worked. But now it's just sitting back at home, and we'll see whether it can defend against this for now, as it's just been getting that production online, getting Stimpak on the way, +1 on the way. NegativeZero has got the Nexus not even done yet, whereas Xena is saturated 40 SCVs against 27 probes. So NegativeZero will need to get some good damage done with these Stalkers potentially. It's not committing in though, a little bit afraid of that bunker. The first Medivac is out for Xena as well. That's quite important. Meanwhile, NegativeZero is just getting out +1, getting a Twilight Council on the way now. As far as the numbers go, this doesn't look too hot. We have a tag stuck worker. I'm wondering where that is. Anyway, it does appear that NegativeZero goes home, so I'm wondering if it saw too much of its opponent's supply to think it could take that fight. Xena, though, just stayed firm. NegativeZero didn't try and poke in. There was enough supply to make it scary that NegativeZero wouldn't take the fight. We've now got a Stargate on the way, Warp Prism on the way for the Protoss. And Xena is just getting some more depots finishing up as it continues this ridiculous amount of production. Just off of 4 racks, very interesting. I imagine the bot author did the math as far as what's possible with this production. The money is staying low, and there's not a lot of idle production, so it does seem to be quite well mathed out. Now, Xena has sent out a Marine. Currently, it is actually at over 60 supply, so we are waiting for what is an inevitable attack, I imagine. Maybe it's waiting for combat shield or something else. It could be that some of its supply is caught up in production. Terran supply is a little misleading when it comes to watching Terran games, because you can have 100 supply, but if you're building 100 Marines at once, technically that's 100 supply, even if they're not done yet. So actual presence on the map is very misleading. Xena does say, hey, I've got 61 supply, let's go for it. And it is going to go for it, as we've got all these Marines and Marauders crossing the map, a whopping 82 supply against the 36 of NegativeZero. NegativeZero isn't prepared for this and is now going to have a very difficult time making this defense happen. Upgrades are even. There is 2 sentries out, a bunch of Stalkers, but the Stalkers don't have blink. There is a Prism, so it can juggle these Stalkers, but now we are seeing Xena come on in with all of this bio. Probes are running away to the main base, which is quite important. It doesn't appear that they're mineral walking, which might have meant that they got a little bit caught there. Now, Xena is going to push up this ramp. So many Marines are coming forward. There's a shield battery. Not many Protoss units have died just yet. The Prism is juggling some of them. That battery is putting in a lot of work. The battery does go down. Xena has got a Colossus, or pardon me, NegativeZero has got a Colossus almost out, but all this Terran bio is here now, and the Protoss bot is afraid. The Stalkers are shooting. Looks like probes are taking the engagement. The Colossus being out could be a big deal, as the bio does stim after this. The Colossus paths down the ramp. It quickly paths back up. It's kind of caught between 2 groups of Terran army, and it will go down as Xena's just wrecking ball comes on in here and seems to get just a rather straightforward victory against NegativeZero. Yeah, really, really well done by Xena. There's a lot going on behind this one. I will cast another game after this, so don't go anywhere, by the way, guys. But opponent, NegativeZero saying, opponent exhibited signs of competence. I was unprepared. Fair, NegativeZero. But yeah, really well done by Xena. It's so interesting, though, that there's mind games to this, because, like, if NegativeZero goes for an earlier Nexus, it probably macros up way stronger. Xena doesn't attack till later. And then NegativeZero basically would probably get the win, because it would have built up more stuff. It wouldn't have hurt its economy early on. I'll talk more about that game at the intro for the next one. Okay, here we are into game number 2 of this video. I do enjoy these sort of small, shorter matches. or sometimes a short match and a long match, or vice versa, as it does allow us to explore the different levels of shenanigans in bot games. And yeah, now we have got what should be another interesting clash, as it's going to be Ketrock taking on Phobos. Phobos, a bot that's been getting some love lately, although Ketrock has been getting updated too. Last updated May 31st. I think all the bot authors are paying a little bit of attention to pro bots upcoming. And both Ketrock and Phobos, or Team Eris's other bots, have been very long-standing projects getting worked on over time. But yeah, calling back to that previous match, it's such an interesting dynamic. I think I did a pretty good job explaining what was going on there as far as the build decisions. Because for those of you that don't know, all of these bot games are played on the ladder. And during those games, basically, the ladder, it just pits all the bots against each other sort of in rounds. And then, so all the bots in the same division will play each other again and again and again until the season ends. And as a bot author, you have the ability to record the results of those games. And by using your own builds as a filter, you can sort of get a picture of what works against your opponent. And clearly for Xena, 99% of the, well, not 99% of the time, but the majority of the time, being the cheesy bot that it is, it tries to cheese NegativeZero, and it doesn't work, because NegativeZero makes the logical decision, knowing that Xena is a cheeser, based on previous games, I imagine, to not expand very quickly. So when we do see a game that Xena actually decides not to attack very early on, but builds to a timing that capitalizes on NegativeZero's sort of weak macro as a result of the opening, it goes much better. Maybe NegativeZero could have been more aggressive and potentially killed Xena with that attack. It never really engaged there, but understandably so. I mean, there was a bunker, there was a high number of Marines. That would be something difficult to program against to win that engagement. NegativeZero's micro is good, but it's even it can't overcome that many Marines, I don't think. And yeah, you got to look at it like Xena. For that build, it has the option of 30 supply, 60 supply. But if we look at it, say if it had an option for another 30 supply, 90 supply, very cool wall in this game, by the way, from Ketrock to ensure Reapers can't get into its base and that they have to path into this bunker. That is actually phenomenal. Ketrock's bot has some really good decisions in it. But yeah, say Xena had 90 supply as one of the build options, and NegativeZero would probably still say, hey, okay, there's cheese happening, I'm playing against Xena. It would delay its economy, but then it would eventually get its economy going, and who knows? If Xena's attack was programmed to hit at 90, it would probably potentially not work, because NegativeZero would have had Colossus out. It might have moved out to take a third base and been in a better position to kite the bio. And yeah, it just really is interesting, the things that go into delivering the 1 or 2 rare games that Xena beats NegativeZero. Because yeah, it would be interesting to see if, say, Xena's bot author added in like a 90 supply attack or something like that, because it probably wouldn't succeed. That really was just the sweet spot. And I hope you guys enjoy geeking out about the interactions on the ladder as much as I do between these bots. Now, we do have Phobos trying to poke Ketrock, but being rather unsuccessful. I do like the Hellion Dive being programmed by Phobos, trying to get in and get an SCV, but Ketrock's bunker really shut that down. A Cyclone is now chasing this Reaper. It gets a good lock on, and it will kill it off. So, very unsuccessful early game TVT for Phobos. Now, that's not unheard of. We have games where Terrans open up with Reapers and Hellions in actual human matches and get nothing done. So, there is still potential here for Phobos to come back. Phobos, though, is a very interesting bot in the sense that it does like to go for pushes at times. We have got Ketrock, meanwhile, announcing that it's going to be playing Tank Viking, which is probably one of the best compositions you can make as a bot author, I imagine, because tanks are phenomenal, and Vikings, well, they're pretty good anti-air if you've got good pooling mechanics. So that is something that I think about if I was to ever program a Terran bot. I might do something like try and make it like a turtle tank Viking bot. Another idea is to have Tempest sort of huddling around batteries and cannons. We do see Sharkbot try and do that. It's of course not that simple, but yeah, it is interesting. I think another interesting idea, if you were to build a bot that exclusively turtles, make no mistake, we have bots that turtle up until, say, they hit 200 supply, but then they always attack. I think it would be interesting to program a bot that literally never attacks until the game hits a certain point, say at least past the 30 to, say, 40-minute mark. I believe a game times out after 44 in-game minutes, I want to say. Either that or an hour, and it becomes a draw. I think it would be interesting to have a bot that really just turtles and turtles and turtles. It would be bad for the servers, of course, because it would mean all its games are stupidly long. But maybe there's potential there, because you could just let your opponent attack into you non-stop, potentially run themselves out of resources, and just get really good trades for, like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes every game. And then to just attack on in, if needed, if your opponent hasn't run out of steam by then. I think that would be an interesting approach to a bot. Again, probably not the most ethical thing to program in the sense that it would slow down the ladder with all of its stupidly long games. We do have Ketrock just chilling on 2 bases, doing what it said, building Vikings, building tanks, although there is a Banshee being produced with 2 more on the way and many more starports coming out. So Ketrock will be trying to harass Phobos, and Phobos is looking wholly unprepared right now to deal with Banshees, so it is going to be trying to get aggressive against Ketrock, going for an attack Marines, tanks, Vikings. But this will be one tough nut to crack, as it's 6 Vikings against 6 Vikings. We've had epic games between Phobos and Ketrock in the past, but Ketrock really is difficult to break. There is a siege tank. No shots getting off from the tank is very darn impressive from Phobos, not to have its units accidentally pad into that tank. But there we go, as they say that, of course it does eat a tank shot. Vikings against Vikings. Looks like Phobos doesn't have the numbers, so it is being pushed back. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, a Banshee shows up for Ketrock, and it's going to start harassing. There is an eBay done for Phobos, but no turret present, and it looks like the attack for Phobos is honestly kind of just falling on its face. Turns out Vikings and tanks is pretty difficult to break if you yourself are a 2-basing Terran. We do have Phobos having a spare SCV to build that command center, but unfortunately it does go down. A couple Marines are coming out to try and push this Banshee away, but still no turrets have been produced in order to defend against this. This is a situation in which having a Raven or 2 to defend would be important to deal with these Banshees, but it's not something that Phobos focuses on. Phobos usually attacks, so little bits of harassment like these couple Banshees can be really strong. Ketrock is just dominating its opponent, and I think we may have a bit of an underwhelming game as the Banshees just go to town. Phobos is still thinking of like how it can attack. It's got some air units just trying to path forward, but it's not going to happen. As yeah, these Banshees, how many kills? 16 kills. Let's see, 10 kills. And is there another one? I mean, there's quite a few out. 16, 10, 16, one with 1. But yeah, it's mainly these 2 doing the work. Phobos did try to get up a 3rd, so it was planning on playing the game later, but that's the scary thing about Ketrock. You look away, it's on 2 bases. You look back a couple minutes later, and it's already got its 4th base building, which is very impressive. The red Terran is not wasting any time as well. It is not a turtle bot, as it is realizing that it can push across the map after this, and that's something that's very impressive. The programming to decide when to attack in your bot, to realize when a situation is good, you can do that in various ways. You could track how many units you've killed of your opponent. You could just have a flat-coded amount of supply or timing to hit. Yeah, a bit of a different cast today, I'll say. More sort of reflective commentary on the games than anything, as the games themselves weren't exactly the most action-packed, as they were pretty clear-cut and dry. Yeah, I do hope you guys enjoyed this, though. If you did, and you do want to support these casts, consider becoming a YouTube member. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join the Discord, which is linked down below. And yeah, like, comment, all that good stuff. If you guys do want to support these casts, yeah, do consider becoming a YouTube member. I've already said that plug. I meant to say thank you to everyone who does. And yeah, let's see here. Well, I mean, there's nothing really to see. Ketrock is just expanding all over the map. The rate these bots mine with their speed mining really is something. They just expand out so quickly. Definitely one of my favorite things about Ketrock, like triple expanding presently, is just nuts. And then still pushing. The resources lost really was something. Ketrock lost 6 Marines in a Banshee. Very close to a flawless game. Very, very close. Ketrock says, shouldn't we be fast forwarding by now? We are, Ketrock, we are. A random medivac potentially for a drop that never happened from Phobos is flying around. But that is that. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning on in.